Acting President and CEO, Peter Hjälkeby.
Thank you very much. I also would like, of course, to welcome all guests here at Drottninggatan, as well as your guests who are listening in. On our Q3 report, being our most important trading period of the year, including then, of course, the Christmas trade. Today, a slightly different setup, not because I'm actually acting CEO, but because I'm also going to complement myself with having my CFO, Göran Melin, taking you through the figures, while I will focus on the business overview and the strategic outlook. Moving into the strategic outlook, I will first go to the business overview. I first would like to talk about the position in general about Clas Ohlson. We have taken gradually big steps over the years. Today we have a solid position. We have a firm direction where we want to head. We want to move outside the Nordics and expand with our base from the Nordic countries into the rest of Europe. And with that solid position, we are growing our market shares. We have a strong foundation in Norway. We have a strong foundation in Sweden. I also would like to comment on Finland, where we've been growing really strong throughout the last couple of years, despite the challenging market. And then, as you all know, we also have taken the first step into the Hamburg, into the German market with our first 3 stores. Then looking at the third quarter highlights, we have a strong sales development. We are happy with the trade over the period. We have a 9% growth in Swedish krona and a 3% like-for-like in the quarter. The pattern over the trade has been a strong, really strong November, a solid December, a slightly softer period post the new year. We have an all-time high profit of 390 million Swedish krona. We have expanded further outside the Nordics. We established our 3rd store in Germany. We opened our 2nd store in Dubai, and we keep working on our consolidation program and restructure program in the UK. Christmas, just to make a comment about Christmas sales for us and the Christmas period. Of course, it's a high activity. We have a broad range of offers. We are really attracting a lot of customers to our stores. We have about 80 million visitors during the Christmas period. We both have this combination of practical product as well as gifts, which makes us interesting for our consumers. And a kind of a little bit of a fun fact is that if you look on these VR glasses, was picked to be the Christmas present of the year. We sold roughly 300% more than we normally do, and 32,000 pieces. So it helps sometimes when we have the right range when it comes to Christmas present of the year to support our sales, which actually this did. Moving on to the markets. A comment before that. I would like to say that we are, when it comes to recognition and awards, we are proud to be recognized. We need that energy and we need that motivation for our co-workers. I would say we are recognized across the business, not only through our store concept, but also through the work we do, for example, with the child's rights works. So that gives us extra energy. It's a kind of a tick that we're on the right track with the strategic direction. Now, moving on to the markets. Sweden, I would say a stable market, a consumer confidence slightly up, a retail growth that is not really peaking, it's quite slow, but it's still growing. For Clas Ohlson, we have a stable performance. We have 4% growth over the period. A little bit similar pattern in a way that we had a very strong November, a solid December, and a slightly softer period post the new year. When it comes to the store network, a network of 86, no new stores during Q3, however, 2 additional stores compared to preceding Q3. Norway, from a consumer confidence point of view, Norway is recovering. We can see that. However, retail sales in the market in general is fairly flat, quite similar on growth to Sweden. However, when it comes to Clas Ohlson, we are really keep growing. We have a 7% growth over the period. We see really that we are taking steps to strengthen our position. I would say, though, that the trading pattern is quite similar to the Swedish market, i.e. November is strong, December solid, and a slightly softer January. Regarding the store network, total network of 77 stores, 1 new store during Q3, and then 4 additional stores compared to the previous year. Finland, I think I even mentioned Finland in the beginning. Finland has been sluggish in general. However, we've been performing really well over the years, taking market shares. Their consumer confidence, however, is turning a little bit upwards in Finland, while the retail index growth itself is still soft. With that said, we keep strengthening our position on the Finnish market. We have a confidence in the way we approach it. It's both about the way we are doing our network and our expansion program into the Finnish market, as well as, of course, over time, the understanding of the brand becomes more solid, hence a more attraction to the customers. When it comes to the store network, we have 36 stores, 2 new stores during the quarter, 2 additional stores net compared to preceding Q3. New markets, we have a high activity. I mentioned in the beginning, we have plans. We are moving towards, with the Nordics as a base, to expand beyond the Nordics. As you all know then, the recent expansion we had or have is Germany. We completed our first phase with opening our 3rd store in November and having also e-com with us now into this quarter. We think we have a very strong, diverse platform to take the business forward in Germany. In UK, it's about optimization. It's about focusing on the London cluster. We have 2 smaller format stores in London area. We can say so far that they are trading well and have a good positive trend in those 2 stores. In the franchise, opening a 2nd stores means we are completing the kind of network phase of the pilot in that market. Total stores network of 14, 2 new stores during Q3, no additional stores net compared to preceding Q3. And with that said, I have concluded a little bit the business overview. I will come back regarding strategic outlook, and I hand over to you, Göran.
Thank you, Peter. Okay, going into the numbers, we start with our 3rd quarter covering the period 1st of November to end of January. In the quarter, we had a strong sales growth of 9% in SEK, and by country in SEK, Sweden increased with 4%, Norway with 17%, Finland with 11%. And outside Nordic countries, there was a decrease with 24% in SEK, affected by the 4 store closures in the UK. In local currencies, sales growth was 5% and 3% like-for-like. And there are 8 more stores in the network compared to last year. Divided by country, in local currencies, we see a strong sales growth in our home markets, with a 4% growth in Sweden, 7% growth in Norway, and 6% growth in Finland. And outside Nordics, the sales declined in local currencies with 17%, 24% in SEK, as an effect of the store closures in the UK. Our gross margin is down 1.9 percentage points, still under pressure from negative hedges and NOK, and delay in subsidiary stock, to some extent offset by improved sales currencies. We continue to improve our cost efficiency, and selling expenses are down 0.9 percentage points as share of sales due to reduced costs in the UK as an effect of store closures, partly offset by cost for the establishment on the German market. And this adds up to all-time high profit for a single quarter, our most important quarter, with an operating profit of 390 million SEK compared to 382 million last year. This supported by strong sales and increased cost efficiency, but negatively affected by currency hedging in NOK. The operating margin is 14.5%, and the earnings per share is 4.84 SEK compared to 4.66 last year. And the net profit is positively affected by a recalculation of tax in Norway. The tax rate in Norway has been decreased from 27% to 24% in 2 steps. And since Clas Ohlson has a split financial year, the lower tax rate is applicable for year 15-16 with a tax rate of 25%, and for the first 2 quarters of financial year 16-17 with a tax rate of 24%. So therefore, we have recalculated the tax for these periods, and this is affecting our Q3 positively with 4.5 million. And going forward, the tax rate in Norway that we calculate with is 24%. And that concludes our 3rd quarter. So we move into our first 9 months, covering the period 1st of May to end of January. And for the first 9 months, we had a solid growth of 5% in SEK, 4% in local currencies, and a like-for-like growth of 2%. And there are 8 more stores in the network compared to end of period last year. Profit for the period is 592 million SEK compared to 633 million last year. Profit is negatively affected by hedging effects in NOK compared to last year, and we also have invested in our expansion into Germany. On the positive side, we have had lower costs in the UK due to our store optimization program. The operating margin is 9.2% and earnings per share 7.28 SEK. We continue to invest at the same level as last year, mainly in new and refurbished stores and in our new IT system, SCORE. We have a strong financial position and a strong cash flow of 763 million SEK. Inventory levels end of January has been reduced according to plan as an effect of the Christmas trade. We have a net cash position of 753 million. I also want to inform you that the transfer pricing issue we had in Norway is now solved. As communicated in Q3 2 years ago, the Norwegian tax authorities, they challenged our transfer pricing model and increased our tax for the year 2008 to 2010 with 49 million NOK. We have now received a final decision that rules in our favor, reversing the earlier decision and accepting our transfer pricing model. This, however, does not affect our tax or profit since we did not book the extra tax 2 years ago. So this was just an extra information, as you also can read in the report. That concludes the quarter and the 9 months. So let's move into the February sales. Sales in February is affected by a 4% negative calendar effect due to last year's leap year. And with that in mind, our sales are up 3% in SEK and flat in local currencies. Divided by country, sales development in local currencies are down 1% in Sweden, up 1% in Norway, and a strong 10% growth in Finland. And outside Nordics is down 15%, affected by the store closures in the UK. And there are 9 more stores in the network compared to end of period last year. And that concludes the financial part. So back to you, Peter.
Yes, thank you. And then, now looking into the strategic outlook of Clas Ohlson and what we really are working on a more long-term basis to medium term. Range being the core of our offer is an ongoing job. We keep developing our mix. It's everything, the focus is about this practical solution, which is the core. We have more and more of our own design and own brands. It's increasing in share with now roughly 30% of the total sales. We are introducing a strong spring range for the coming season. We are focusing on solar sales ranges, and we're also introducing new product ranges, which then is the workwear range and pets accessories. And I just would like to emphasize this, of course, is where the core starts. Our offer is the heart of everything we do, and is to be in tune with the trends of the tomorrow practicalities is really important. Hence, ongoing range launches to build further business. On the supply side, we keep working with our direct sourcing in Asia. Outside China, we're also working with developing business in Vietnam and India. We have stronger presence in that dynamic market. We are working closely with our suppliers, supporting them, developing them, which is a win-win situation for us. We work with our transportation distribution from Asia, investing or introducing a consolidation point to bring the goods in a more efficient way over to Incheon and Europe. And then, of course, we keep improving our DC operation up in Incheon to support our store expansion and store network. Sustainability, I would like to emphasize, is a total business commitment. It's not about one function driving this. It's a total business commitment from the leadership of Clas Ohlson to all functions across the business. I'm happy to say that the growing share of spare parts and the growing that we started up to also do rental of tools in some stores here in Sweden and Norway is a way of also interacting, of course, and developing our customer offer from a sustainable point of view. On the transport side, I would like to highlight that we're moving more goods over from the trucks into rails, hence less carbon dioxide in the footprint. Customer meeting is very much about Omni. It can sometimes be a buzzword, but what Omni means for us is to be really relevant throughout our sales channels. I did mention, I think we did announce in Q2 that we opened our compact store here in Hornstull in Stockholm, which is a way of working with the formats to become more relevant, complementing the existing store network. We are working on harmonizing the stores together with the digitals and the e-com channels. We, of course, have a big club today, a lot of customers with us, 2.5 million members. It's an access to knowledge. We can be more relevant both in our communication and the way people are shopping with us. Social media, as well as our catalog centers, it's a joined up process, and it's to have this as seamless as we can 24/7. I did comment on the optimizing of UK network in the beginning. We have a London cluster strategy. It means we concentrate mainly on the London network. We have 2 new stores there, smaller format, quite similar to the compact store here in Stockholm. They are performing well. We are working with the closure program. We closed Watford store in February. We are going to close Newcastle now in March. However, when it comes to Croydon, the date is still to be confirmed, mainly connected to that we have a shopping center that should be renovated, and it means a lot of existing stores needs to move out in order for them to start the renovation work. So therefore, we have no date confirmed yet for the Croydon store. It means a slightly revised plan. We're going to close then 6 stores during current financial year versus the 7 plan that we have from the beginning. It also impacting then that we, instead of having a yearly saving for 17-18 estimated to 70 million Swedish krona, we are looking at 60 million Swedish krona, and then still Croydon date to be confirmed. Germany, first phase completed. We have a strong footprint, a strong foothold, a diverse platform in Germany. We have a good feedback from our customers coming in. We see a healthy development in ATV and conversion. We have a high private label. We can see also that the customers are not only shopping the most obvious campaign products, they're moving into the depth of the range, which is very healthy for us to see that we have a good category mix as well as depth to the range. And of course, here is very much about keep building of the brand and the brand recognition and to get an understanding what Clas Ohlson is. And we do think with the platform, we have 3 stores in diverse location and e-com, we have that foundation. Score and IT, as you're all aware of, we are investing in a platform for the future. It will be a business enabler across the business, from warehousing to inventory planning, omni-channeling. It's important for us to be more agile in the way we work in order to be more flexible in future developments. We have estimated investments of 145 million Swedish krona annually over the next 2-year period. Finally, increase new store target. We are looking at a planned new store net of 10 to 15 stores during the coming year, so slightly more than we have had this year for the next year coming. And this concludes then the strategic outlook for Clas Ohlson. I would like to summarize that the quarter in itself, we had a strong growth, we had an all-time high profit, and also we have a lot of going for us on the strategic agenda and a lot of activities and energy on how to take the next steps in the Clas Ohlson business, both on the expansion side of it, business itself, but also in the whole operation across from range work, communication, as well as supply, etc., etc. And with that, I would like to hand over to the Q&A session by you, Niklas. So yes, please join us.
Thank you very much. Yes, my name is Niklas Ekman, coming from Carnegie. So I'll ask a few questions first before handing over to the floor and to the telephone conference as well. Firstly, maybe a little bit of nitty-gritty here. Last couple of quarters has been a bit volatile here on the gross margin because of currency hedges. And we've had now a stronger Norwegian crown that should be in your favor, but you've been hampered then by the currency hedges. Have these currency hedges now, are these essentially played out? And what kind of currency effects do you expect on the gross margin looking at the coming quarters, if there's anything you can say, Göran?
Yeah, I can say looking forward to quarter 4, it's, I mean, the high effect that we have seen, as you explained, we had negative hedges this year and positive hedges last year. So we had a big difference, and that is more fading out. We will still have effects in Q4, but not as high or high impact as we have seen in Q2 and Q3. And then moving into the first quarter next year, the effects will be very limited. Even if it stays in this level, maybe a bit positive in Q1, since we had negative hedges last year in Q1.
Okay. Excellent. And shifting then to Germany, what can you say there about how pleased are you with the development in Germany? Is there any way you can compare the development in Germany to the initial months or quarters in the UK, for instance?
think we can say we have a stronger ATV and conversion, clearly, compared to when we launched the UK. That's the big difference. And on top of that, what we feel, and also you can see in the shopping behavior in the stores in general, it's very positive, and I think the comment and the service we're doing are confirming that we're on the right direction with Germany.
Okay, and how long do you think this evaluation period will last? When are you ready to launch your 4th store?
I wish I could tell you that. But no, seriously, I think we're ongoing monitoring. There is no clear answer. We have a long-term ambition. We have a pipeline, of course, bubbling with stores to come, because there are lead times to find new sites, etc. But at this stage, I can only say we are focused on the 3 stores and e-com to get that going.
And assuming you don't get the German business successfully up and running, what kind of contracts have you committed to in terms of leases?
There are flexibility in the contracts,
okay.
But we are not there yet in our mindset, just to be very clear.
Yeah, absolutely. And sticking to the German or the non-Nordic business, we saw here that it was down 24%. I think in the quarter it was down 17% in local currency. And that's essentially on an unchanged number of stores. You closed some UK stores and you replaced them with German stores. But it's a fairly weak trend, and that we've seen for some time. What do you think the reason for the weakness?
It's very hard to compare that, because of course if you look on a number, that's one thing. But if you look on when stores actually were opening and when stores actually were closing, that's the reason why you have that trend, nothing else, actually.
Okay.
So there's nothing else to read into that. We have a phasing out of the closing stores in the UK that we started quite early in actually the year. And then we have opened just recently, even you can say a long time, but in November we opened the last store in Germany, which is then trading up. So I think that's much more what you see than anything else.
And just to be clear, when you talked about the UK closures, you have revised that number now from 7 to 6.
Yes.
So 6 is including the Croydon store, which has been a little delayed.
When it comes to this year, yes. We have revised the numbers.
Okay. Excellent. You have a new CEO coming in now again in mid-June, Lotta Lyro. Can you give us a little bit of background to her, and then the reason, what qualities are behind choosing her as CEO?
Well, now it's not me who has the point, of course. But I think like this, that with all changes, there are times when you need new injection, and there's times when you need to sit down and reflect over, for example, the years now that of course we had Clas leading the company. We are taking great steps. Then at the same time, I think, of course, it's positive that you get some new eyes on the business. I think we have a very firm strategic agenda, actually. We are very early out, and we have solid plans. I think we are building on the foundation we have, and are more trying to be kind of more qualitative in what we do. And I do expect then, of course, that the new CEO will give a new perspective from her background, and I think it's just going to be an added value to the business, actually.
Yeah. And you mentioned here that you have a clear focus on a continued non-Nordic rollout. But if you look at the store plans here, you have 8 Norwegian stores, you have 5 Finnish stores, you have 2 Swedish stores in plan. So I already asked you about Germany, and you're passing on that. But in terms of UK, when will we see more UK store openings? Are there more plans for your franchise business in the imminent period?
These 3 markets are actually in the same similar phase. They are all in a phase of being in a kind of, I wouldn't say, of course you can say evaluation phase, but we are not there yet to confirm any numbers to say that now we can open the next, for example, in the UK. In Dubai or in the franchise, we just recently added a 2nd store. I think we need to give that some time. And in Germany, I think I already answered you where we are with Germany. But with that said, we have still the ambition, and I think the work we are doing with the store network we have, both in the UK as well as in Germany in particular, but also Dubai, is of course there is a lot of work going on outside just establishing stores, about the range offer, how we are building the brand, etc., etc., etc.
And you mentioned revising the target for the next fiscal year, the store expansion target. What was the background? Is it just opportunistic in terms of finding good leases, or?
I think it happens so that we now are ready to take some steps in some markets. We found some locations that we think is good for us. It's also what's going on in the market, and therefore we have that span. We can see that we can deliver on those plans.
So there's no change in the general view on the Nordic expansion, that you see that you are ramping up your ambitions in general in the Nordics?
I think our ambition when it comes to the established markets is that I think we have potential in the CO1, as we call it, the smaller Clas Ohlson format, to complement the bigger ones. We have a compact store. If you haven't been there, I would invite you to go there and do a little bit of shopping. But it's a nice store. It's complementing the existing network. And I think that's an interesting direction for us. And if that's proving to be positive, then of course we can also accelerate maybe. Who knows?
Okay, excellent. Let's check if there are any questions here from the floor. Stellan?
Stellan Hellström from Nordea. I also wanted to try to get a little bit more feel for your expansion in or new initiatives, new markets. If you compare the new format in UK with Germany and with franchise, where would you say you have the most promising momentum at the moment?
I think they are actually equal diplomatic answer, but I think you need to see you and I when we talk about UK, we are then a new format there which is positive for us so far. I think that's one way of doing it. Then that doesn't take away the foundation we are setting in Germany actually. And I just think in general when it comes to formats, we are learning as we go along a little bit. I think we are finding, of course, some good things in what we do in the UK that can benefit all markets, as well as what we do here in Stockholm, the compact store, can benefit all markets. And that is kind of the way of also seeing in the future how can that support expansion in general. But right now, I think there are for different reasons, strong foundations actually, both in UK, what we do there with those two stores, as well as Germany.
Also interesting is, of course, how you do online. I don't think you have mentioned how much of your sales is online, and I don't expect you to do that now as well.
So we are always talking all channels, of course.
All right, but you mentioned anyway that you want to be relevant in all channels, and just this last month I got an offer on the Club Clas to buy an electric toothbrush. Now then it was 20% off. Then I checked Price Runner, and it was still cheaper with a competitor, online competitor, which even offered free freight. So, I mean, do you feel that you are there in being relevant in the online channel, given that you have potentially much more intense price competition?
Obviously not in that case, but in general we are selling, by the way, a lot of toothbrushes. But I think that when it is about being relevant, of course, it is about price, it's about timing, and it's about being an offer that actually you want to have. And we can't guarantee that we're always going to be best, particularly online, because that is sometimes a little bit of a jungle out there with price pressures. But overall, we have an overall healthy development in all channels actually, and I think that we also know that, which I think is out there in the market as well, this about the rope effect, meaning how much you're attracting into the stores. That traffic is extremely important if you look into the web. So I would say yes, we have an ambition to be competitive on price. We do act. If we're not, we cannot always be, but we always strive. Overall, the customers will actually say, okay, I look back on the last couple of months when I've been shopping at Clas Ohlson or whatever, I had a great value and a great deal. Then I wouldn't say apologies, but I wish we would have been more competitive in that case. Yeah.
Very well, thanks.
Any further questions from the floor? Maybe you can elaborate a little bit on your online growth. I mean, you seem very pleased with online, but at the same time you talk about online in the context of driving traffic to the stores. When you were once reporting growth or sales in online, they were actually seeing a decline as a share of group sales. Is that still the case, or has the online trend reversed, and are you seeing accelerated online sales at the moment?
I think so much I can say that we are seeing, in that sense, a more healthy development online. I think I want to go back to those days when we actually were reporting, and also when we were struggling a bit with online. I think you have to remember that we were opening a lot of stores and really expanding by the stores. So we were moving the ones who actually wished that wanted to have a Clas Ohlson store nearby and not really do the mail order. When we opened the store, they actually, okay, I go to Clas Ohlson. I think we learned a lot on how to be more relevant in what job the online business you do today versus what we used to do in those days.
Yeah. A general question here on monthly sales figures as well. I mean, the sales figure for February, I guess, was essentially in line with the trend we've seen in previous months. But in general, there's been quite a lot of volatility between the different months, particularly in the Norwegian market. I've also noted that the Finnish sales in general have almost consistently been outperforming. Can you elaborate a bit both on the volatility and the background to why Finnish sales have suddenly become so strong over the last year or two?
If I start with the latter, I think Finland has been growing for quite some years now. And I go back to the work we've been doing there. I think we've been actually, I wouldn't say clean up, but we've been really concentrating our store expansion program to the greater Helsinki area mainly, and make sure we have the right location, stores in the right location. And then it's about the brand understanding. And I could say that 7-8 years ago, if you look on the brand study about Finland, what did I understand really about Clas Ohlson? I think it was kind of a mellow mix of what Clas Ohlson was good about, or what was good, why should I shop at Clas Ohlson? Today is not the case. We have a much stronger position within the Finnish market in the way we were working, both with the commercial offer as well as how we reach out in our communication and the store network. When it comes to volatility, yes, that's the way it is. And we've been having, even through summer, this about when is the summer month. It used to be July, can sometimes be August, can be July again the next year, and it's very much driven about the seasons. And so I think what you see now is, that I wouldn't blame the climate, but it's a little bit, we are driven by season, no doubt about it. When it's snowing, we are doing well at that right time of the year, meaning November. When it's snowing in March, it's not that great. And then vice versa. Now when we look forward and to the spring here, we of course need a good spring. So it's very much that decides what's happening actually.
And specifically for this quarter, you mentioned yourself you had a tremendously strong November sales on very tough comparisons, and then it's been weaker in the latter half. Is this in any way related to Black Friday? Has that been a big driver of sales in November, or?
It has affected, but I don't think it has been the biggest driver, but it has affected in a way that we, of course, took some growth there. But I would also say that we have seen a pattern that there were much more early shoppers out in November. And I think what we maybe did differently compared to previous years was that we actually offered both gifts and what you say, decoration products from the beginning. So we had an earlier shopping pattern going into the November. I still think we had a good December, actually, frankly speaking, but not as strong as November, which was extremely strong.
Okay. Let's see if there are any questions from the conference call.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you have a question for the speakers, please press 01 on your telephone keypad. And I remind you that if you want to ask a question, you will have to press 01 on your telephone keypad now. As there are no questions registered, I'll hand back the conference to the speakers.
Yes, and I'll continue and ask about your OPEX trend. OPEX has, in the past few quarters, you've seen a very limited OPEX growth. And obviously, I think the closures in the UK have been a key driver behind that. At the same time, I know that some of the biggest stores and perhaps most loss-making stores in the UK are the later closures. So do you expect that OPEX growth will slow even further, or how do you balance that now with maybe an accelerated expansion in the Nordics?
I mean, as you say, we see a positive OPEX trend since we are closing some of the stores in the UK, and that chunk of cost is going out of the P&L compared to the sales. But I think that is, we have seen that trend, and we will see the trend forward as well, depending on the number of stores we are closing.
And in the UK now, with a revised target of 60 million in cost savings, how near are the remaining stores to profitability? You don't give an exact number, but are you fairly confident that this is a business that will reach break even within the next 2-3 years, or what's your view on the UK market?
I think the view on the UK market is that we're not there yet on the question you're answering, but we are building on those particularly positive signs that we had around London. That's what we want to do. Can't give any exact timings for the rest.
No. Let's check if there are any additional questions from the floor. Nope, not at the moment. So I'll ask you about, you mentioned private label sales here with that you're currently at 30%. Do you have a target for where you want that number to be?
I want it to grow without being specific, and it'll be gradually growing over the years. And I think that it is a way of, for us, of course, to build our identity. I do think we have actually a strong competence when it comes to range development, and it's gradually growing. So I think that we have more of a moving target in that sense to take that further. You're going to see it grow in the future as well.
Yeah, and same question on direct sourcing. Where are you today? You didn't give an exact number, but how much are you sourcing directly from suppliers in Asia?
We are sourcing directly approximately around 40% of what we source.
So that's up quite significantly then. I think in the past you've talked about some 25% or so, but many years ago.
It's been quite flat for the last couple of years.
Okay.
We saw a big jump a number of years ago,
yes,
as you're referring to.
Yes, okay. Good. I think that concludes my questions, at least, and I don't think there are any additional questions from the floor. Maybe if you want to have a few closing remarks.
No, I think again, the message from us is that strong quarter behind us, both from the sales, of course, with all-time high profit. We are very happy about that. We are looking forward to the spring. I think we have an exciting spring. I think you should, of course, shop with us, if I put talk that way. You should go and see Hornstull as a store. I think it's a different store complementing, and it's a little bit of a hint of where we are heading sometimes with, not sometimes, where we're heading to complement our store network. Omnichanneling is not only about digital channels and e-com, it's also about the store network and how we can be more relevant depending where the location is. So I think those are my closing remarks. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you very much.